This video file is recorded in Sabancı University during the recitations for the CS201 Introduction to Computing course, as it was given in the fall 2016 semester.
Now let's go with other examples. I hope you have downloaded this file, the codes for today. Just copy them, so select them all, Control A, copy them, and send them to the solution folder here. I'll paste them here, all of them. All right. Now we are continuing with a new piece of code, which is called find word count. This is an interesting function. So this is it, find word count. Add all of those data, all of those files, add them, and we have them here. When you go to the solution folder, this is the find word count, you have the input file. Just copy the input file. So this is important stuff, important remark. Copy this input stuff, and the input data should be here. Because what we are going to do is the following. This is random text, we can say. We're going to read from saved files, okay? It can be a Word document, a Notepad document, WordPad, or whatever, okay? But what's most important is that this input should be at the solution folder, namely at the folder of where the CPP files and the other files are allocated. So let's see what this code is doing. I have a demo about it. So this is our input. This is our input file. There is a random text. I think it's from a Roman, but I'm not sure. And what we are going to do is the following. So remember the name of this file. So this is the content of the file. The name of the file is input.txt. And I'm going to do the following thing. I'm firstly going to give the name of the file. So it's input.txt. And from this input file, I want to find the word that is going to be searched. So, okay, give me a clue. I want to find how many times does that certain word that I give as an input appear here. So, which one you want to try? Do you want to try the word? Let's try the word, because usually it appears often. So in the input text, in the input file, I want to try the word. The occurred 0 times. Wow. Let me try something better. What about he? I think he occurs multiple times. So I'm running the code again, input.txt. I'm searching for he, and he occurred 3 times in input.txt. We can find those 3 times. So one of them is this one, 1. Another one is where? Can help me? 2. And another one? It should be here somewhere, but we have 3 he's. Now, let's see how this stuff is done. But remember this. Initially, we gave something like enter the name of the file, and we gave a string, which was called input.txt. In our case, it was an input file. We're going to see 2 libraries here. Yeah, actually, one of the libraries, the string utilities we have already seen, and I'm not going to explain it again. And one of them is this one, the prompt. Okay, so do you know what the prompt is? Prompt is this stuff. Enter the name of file. This is called the prompt. Actually, it asks from a user to give an input, okay? Give some instructions, some notes. So we have been dealing with those prompts very often. They are boring stuff, like give an integer number, give your age, give your birthday, give a string, or whatever. That's why we decided finally to make our life easier and define or write a new library, which is called prompt.h. And in this prompt.h library, we have some functions that are useful for us, especially this function here. Okay, so this is the prompt.h library header. It's not a class, but is it? No, it's not a class. We have just some functions here, and some of the functions. So the library prompt.h. Let me write it here, or better here because we'll need the board later on. So prompt.h. This is the library. And the most important function that we're going to use very often is this one. It returns a string. Its name is prompt string. Prompt string. As a parameter, as you can see, it takes a reference, a constant reference to a string. Basically, this string here is the following stuff. So we will send this, enter the name of file. This will be our string. There's a parameter. It's going to be printed. And the function is going to return this input.txt. This input.txt is going to be this string that we expect as a value that is returned from the prompt string. We have other functions which maybe we're not going to use, but let me tell them about those functions. So there's a function called prompt yes no. It returns a Boolean value. Sometimes you ask the user, do you want to continue? And the user should reply with yes or no. So this do you want to continue is sent as a parameter. It's printed. And this yes or no is returned, okay? If the user presses Y, for instance, it's returned as true. If the user presses N, meaning no, it returns no, false. Y means yes, so it's regarded as true. So the name of the function was prompt yes no. Bool prompt yes no. The prompt is always printed. We have other functions like prompt in range. They return long or double or whatever, integer, let's say. Prompt in range. You again send the string as a parameter, and it's like, okay, give a number from 0 to 1. Okay, you send the string and the range, low, high. So you can say, okay, pick a number between 1 and 100, 100 and 1000. And you pick a number, and that number is going to be returned, okay? That's why you have an integer here. So those are the most important functions from the prompt.h. Basically, you don't want to bother, you just send, you write this function and let the function deal with the prompt and the data that is going to be returned, the input data, okay? So you make sure with those functions that when I say, okay, enter your age, I'm sure, and the enter your age is going to be printed in the screen, and the user is going to return an integer value, okay? This is it. You don't want to bother anymore how it's going to be done, okay? And if you want to see the definitions, how it's done, you can go to prompt CPP and see how it's done, okay? Prompt range and prompt string and whatever. Basically, we saw those techniques previously in the previous class. Now, there is some interesting stuff here, and the most important stuff about this week are reading data and writing data to files. Okay? For this reason, we are going to learn about the class, a new class, which is called ifstream. I think this is an abbreviation of input file stream. We saw a txt file, a notepad file. So this is a kind of a file stream, okay? We see on it that's a file stream. What do we have here? I'm going to write public data, public member functions about this class. And we are going to use them in our functions, in our programs. So, of course, it has a constructor, ifstream. It has two constructors. One takes no parameter, just I declare an ifstream. Another parameter is the following, ifstream, and it takes a string which contains the file name. The file name might be input.txt. So this is the file name. What do we have else? Usually, yeah, files usually are text, characters, strings, something like that. I mean, we are not dealing with image processing stuff, only text, okay? Even if, I mean, you can open even images with Notepad and you'll see that some characters appear. That makes no sense if you've done it. So we are dealing with characters, I mean, because image processing is something advanced for CS201. Open. It tries to open a file and returns true or false. Returns 0. When I say 0, it means false. Or 1, meaning true. So when we want to open a file, but that file doesn't exist, I am telling, open the file, blah, 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 like input, rtrim, blah, it does not exist. This open is going to return false, and I cannot open it. Or the file might exist, but the hard disk is damaged. We cannot read it. We cannot open it, although it does exist. So it still is going to return 0. There's another function called fail. It returns also 0 or 1, regardless of we have failed or not when opening the file. If we cannot open it, it returns true, meaning we couldn't open it. If we open it, fail is 0, because it didn't fail. We opened it successfully. So far, so good. Now I want to tell you something important about the input files. So let's say this is our input.txt file. Okay. We have some text here, like, hi, this is CS201, intro to computing. And something else, blah, blah, blah. But what's important about this stuff is that in the end of each line, there's a new line. We don't see it, but there is a new line. I mean, you might wonder why the text sometimes appear very long, sometimes not. Or how do the computer knows that I've pressed enter here, and when I open it, reopen it again, it's in new line. It's because there is, when you press enter, there is a new line character. You don't see it, but it's there, okay? There's a new line here. And what's more important, there is something called end of file. It's a kind of a special character that tells us that the file is over. We don't have any more characters here. All of the files contain this end of file. We're going to use it, okay? So this is how our input file looks like, okay? We have new lines and end of file. Of course, we might have other characters like tab, spaces, and so on. But you don't need more than this for the time being. Well, this should be it. Do we have something else to explain? Yes, there is a very important operator, which is called operator stream. We have seen it, we've seen it. Basically, if I use this operator, and remember this operator reads words one by one. And what do I mean by a word? How can I distinguish one word from another word? Can you tell me? From spaces, yeah. So I have one space here, meaning hi from the beginning up until the comma, including the comma, is one word. This is one word. Is one word. Words are separated with spaces. This is important because you might say, okay, is this comma part of the word? Yes, it is. Okay. If we have multiple spaces, like let's say we have one space here, then we don't have any word in between those spaces. Or if we have a word, it's an empty word that has no characters. Okay. Intro is one word, to is one word, computing is one word. The new line is also regarded as space. If we have tab, you know the tab, you press it with your keyboard, is also regarded as space. So let's see what is our function doing, our program is doing. We saw the output, namely this is the output that we expect, but we have to do it in our own. We have to write some piece of code. And you will sign for the activities today if you can write it, or can give me a clue how we can write it. So we enter the name of the file, this is input.txt, and we enter the word to be searched. In our case, we wanted to find how many times the word he appears in the file, in this file. Okay, and we saw that it appears 3 times in the file that we have given. Of course, we can give some input that does not exist. So we will have this message, error, cannot open file, blah, 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 blah. And in order to open a file, this is also an important remark. We have the executable version here, the executable file. The exe and the file that you are trying to open should be in the same folder. Or you can do something, if you want to complicate your life, if you hate yourself, you can do something like this. You can write like C, then Windows, then blah, 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 then another folder, and input.txt, okay? Or better, you put the file at the same folder where the exe file, the input file, the text file, at the same folder where the exe file exists. So this is what we should get as an input, but unfortunately for you, the code is not finished. I'm going just to tell you very briefly what it's doing. So we define ifstream, which is called input file. This ifstream is the class that I just explained. It allows us to open and to read a file. Prompt string, you remember the prompt string function from the prompt library. So basically this is the string that we sent, enter the file name, and prompt string returns a string, which will be in our case file name. This is the file name that we give. So let's say, so we are here now, we are printing this, enter the file name, it's printed here, and I'm giving input.txt, and the function prompt string is going to return this input.txt, is going to return the input.txt and give it, assign it to file name. Now, if I try to open the file, and this is how you open the file. Don't forget about this. This is called copy string. This is a kind of array of characters. You don't have to know what it is about. But in order to open the file, you take the file name as a string, and there is, this string is a class. There is a member function which is called copy string, and you have to open it with that copy string. Now, we are using the fail function, and we are saying if it does not fail, then do something. I mean, search the word. But if it fails, it's going to return 1. The negation of 1 will make it 0. So if it fails, we are going here and printing this else. Okay. So this if and this else are together. Error, cannot open file. Okay. So let me show it again. Firstly. So if I give an input like this and this file does not exist, point doc, error, cannot open file, blah, 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 and this is done with this part of code. Error, cannot open file, and we print the file name. The file name that we read in this line here. However, if it does not fail, what should we do is the following. We should, so let me write the correct file name, input.txt. We should prompt the user, enter the word to be searched. This is again the prompt string functions. This is the prompt that we print, enter the word to be searched. Now we are entering an input, which is the prompt that we want to be searched in the word that we want to be searched in this input file, okay? It's going to be he. When we press enter, we get this output. But how did we get it? Okay, so word is he. Next word is the word that we are taking from this file. So initially we take homes, afterwards we take head, then we take bin, and so on. So when we take homes, we compare whether the homes is equal to he, the word that we are prompting with. If they are not equal, we don't do anything. Then we take head, they are not equal, and so on. We continue taking words and comparing them. We come to which, eventually, which is not equal to he. And when we take he is equal to he, so the count is incremented. And we continue taking the words up until the end here, when we come to the end of file. And we print the number of words that we have taken. So, cout word, this is the word that we enter, he in our case, occurred 3 times. Word count initially, it's an integer. We count how many times it occurred. Of course, initially it's 0. And if they are the same, the word that we have just read is the same with the word that we enter, we increment it here, word count plus plus. But the problem is the following, and your job is to write it. How are we going to take words one by one? So you know that we are using infile. And in this infile, we have some member functions, and one of them is the operator stream. Okay, input stream arrows that we have seen so far with cin. But it doesn't work only with cin; it works also with ifstream and ofstream. We will see ofstream later on. So, what was this doing? I'm telling again. It takes word by word, and by words I mean everything which is between 2 empty spaces. And by empty space, I mean a space bar, a new line, a tab, and so on. So what we should do? Can you help me? Can you come up with a clue? Any hint? Okay. Let me give you a hint. With this while, we are doing the following. We are reading the words up until we come at the end of file. This operator here reads word by word. And if we cannot read the word, it returns false, meaning that we come out from the while. And here we compare whether the word we have just read is equal with the words we are looking for. In our case, we are looking for occurrences of he. Okay? So, the word we are looking for is called next word. The word we are looking for is called word. Okay? This is the he. We are looking for he. And next word is the word that we take one by one from the input file. So how are we going to do that? This is a string, by the way. And this operator returns a string. I mean, it takes a string as an input, puts it to a string, another variable, and returns true or false, whether it's successful or not. I think this stuff was also covered in lectures, if I'm not mistaken. So you should be familiar with that. So, no one can do it? Yeah, but we are going to use this operator, but how? What?
In the while. Right?
Yeah, in the while. Very nice. How? What should be there exactly? How are we going to use it? Just like this? So what should I add else?
Say next word.
Next word, okay, next word. Yeah, but how should I read the next word?
Ifstream or CM.
So you have ifstream, which is called in file, and you have opened the file. Okay, so basically this you should put here in file, nothing more. Why it's not working? Okay, so we have in file, and I'm reading it. Okay, this is it, nothing more.
Exclamation.
No, because if I can read it, when I cannot read anything can come out. But if this is true, meaning I've read the words, then I should remain in while. So I'm reading in file basically has opened this file here. You can assume, although it's not the case, you can assume that this input is inside here. And this in file, in our case we have called this, it's a type, it's a class. And in our case this ifstream is variable is called in file. This in file is reading data one by one, okay, by this operator, and it has opened this input txt. Okay, so we write in file arrow next word, and we want to check whether the next word, the word that we have just read, is equal to the word that we are looking for. So how are we going to do that? Okay, help me. Yeah, if next word is equal to the word we are looking for, then increment the word count. Is this hard? No. Let's run the program. And this is not the demo, this is the program that we have just written. So enter the file name. The file name is input.txt. Enter the word, it's he, but we didn't put system pause here, or cin ignore cin get. Okay, the file is input.txt. Enter the word, it's he, and he occurred 3 times in input.txt. Is this clear? Did you understand this example? Okay. Now let's be honest again. How many of you understood it? 50%? Okay, 50% is like this. If you have questions, you can ask. No problem.
I can't open it.
Can you open it or not? You can't open it because it's like this. You also go to Open Folder in File Explorer, and the input should be here, okay? You just copy paste it. If it's not there, you cannot open it. Otherwise, you can open it because I just did it. During the break, we can solve that issue. You can try it because your homework will be about this stuff, but much harder. I warn you. So what's important? Again, the open function. This is how you open a text. The fail function, if you want to be sure that you have not failed in opening, meaning that the file does not exist. It exists, but it's damaged, so we cannot open it. So fail returns true if you cannot open it. Okay? And what else? The stream operator for reading words one by one. Those are 3 functions, member functions, that we used from the ifstream class in this example. Okay? Of course, if the word does not exist, let's say I'm looking in this input.txt, the words ofstream, and it occurred 0 times because it does not exist in that particular file. All right, if you don't have questions, then we are going to see another example. It is called, so just remove everything from delete, remove from this example. Add existing item. We are going to see the count words on a line file. Count words on a line. There is a folder called count words on a line. select everything with Control A, CTRL-A, and add it here. So count words on a line. Basically the input file is the same as previously, so we don't have to copy paste it again. What we are trying to do is the following. How many lines do we have in this file?
5.
1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, we have 5 lines. We want to print how many words we have in each line. And let's see how are we going to do that. But again, make sure that the input file is located at this particular folder, at the solution folder when you have your CPPs, okay? Yeah, for the time being it's fine. So current count words on a line, it's here. That's why you have to copy paste this input file to the folder which is in the hierarchy in an upper level, but it's the same. We already have it. It's the same input file as in the previous example. Okay, that's why I'm not going to copy paste it again. So let's run the code. And also I want to I want to tell you something. Do you see a file which is called output.txt here? Do you see it? Yeah, you see input.txt, but output.txt, you don't see it. Now I'm going to use some magic, and you will see it. Enter the file name. The file name is input.txt. And this is it. But if you go in the project file, in the solution folder, you'll see the output.txt file. And here you have, for each line, how many words do we have, okay? So, if you don't trust me, if I didn't make the mistake, if there is a mistake, but it's not a mistake, I checked it. So the first line has 17 words. I'm not going to count them, but I'm going to count the words in the 5th line. So line 5 has how many words? This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5. And we have printed that it has 5 words. Okay, so this is what we are going to do in this example. But before executing the code, before executing it, just let me write the system pause here. Don't use it for your homework. I'm just using it here because I'm used with system pause and it's faster. Use ignore and get. So we have the input file stream, but we have something else which is called ofstream. Can you guess what is this about? So ifstream is input file stream. We read from an input, but ofstream is what? Output file stream, and it's creating outputs. And you remember the output.txt? So this output file stream is for writing to a data, to a file, and the input file stream is for reading from a file. Now let's see what do we have else here. So we should count the number of, we should get firstly how we're going to do this stuff. Can you give me an algorithm how you would do it without coding? Well, this is how I would have done it. I would have taken a line. I would have taken the whole line and count the numbers here. That's why we have something which is called getLine in the ifstream class. It takes a line. And how do we know where does the line end? Can you help me about this? Get a line. Where does the line end? Yeah. \n, meaning new line. When this occurs, that means that we have a new line. That's the end of the line, okay? For the words, we had the empty space, and the new line is when the the line finishes. What do we have else here? Okay, previously we were not polite. Why? Because we used the open function to open a file, but we didn't close it. And sometimes when you don't close it, you might have problems. That's why there's a function called close. It's like when you go inside to a room, you open the door, you take what you want, you do what you want in that room. When you go outside, you should close the door. Of course, you can leave it open, but it's not a good thing to do, okay? That's why you have a closed function for the ifstream class. Now let's see what do we have in this class here, which is very similar to the ifstream class. It's called ofstream output file stream. It has similar functions and member functions. I'm going to explain the public ones. Of course, we have maybe hundreds of member functions or variables or whatever properties here, but we're explaining the most important ones here. So, we have ofstream. This is the constructor. And it takes a file name as an input, okay? Just as we had here the file name for ifstring. But we use the open, very open member functions to open the input file. We can do it immediately. When we give the file name, we can open it immediately if we give it as parameter to the constructor. Okay, so you might assume that input is for reading, but output is for writing. And you remember how we use cout, cin is used like this, okay? Cout is used like this. So if we have defined the operator arrow, what do you think? Which operator do we have here? We want to write to a file. The opposite. We are writing. So we have the operator in the other side, meaning this is the output stream. Okay, this is the input stream. This is the output string. And you might assume, you might know that this operator is writing to a file. Okay, this operator is reading from a file. This is writing to a file. What do we have else? Fail. It's 0 or 1, same as here. And close. When we write something to a file, we have to close it and we are sure that it has been written. I'm not sure about C++, but I know other languages then that if you don't write close, everything you have written is not written actually in that file. So when you write close, at the same time they are written. Basically you have like a buffer here. So when you say I'm writing to the file, outputting to a file, you're not doing that, you're writing to a buffer. But when you close the file, just before closing, the buffer is flushed. I mean, the content of the buffer is put to the file is closed, and this is how it works, okay? So it's sometimes very important to close the file, especially for the output files. And finally, there's another class which is called istringstream. You might think this is a lot for today, but it's not. I mean, those are things that maybe you have seen before, and these are quite helpful for you. I'm going to write only the constructor for this file, and I'm going to explain in a while what it is doing and why it's helpful for us. So, the constructor is the following: istring, not ifilestream, but istringstream. You take a string as a parameter. Let us call it line. And you have here operator, output stream, input stream. Of course, it returns 0 or 1. And this guy here also returns 0 or 1. I mean, if the output is successful, we have 1, otherwise it's 0. The same applies here. The same logic applies here as well. So 0 or 1, whether it's successful or not. Now, we don't need this prompt anymore. I'm going to tell you the logic behind this code. I'll take like 5 or at most 10 more minutes, and you have your break. So, let's assume this is our file, the input file, and we want to get an output file where we write the number of words in each line. What I'm going to do is the following. I'm going to use 2 whiles. I'm going to take new lines up until the end. This is one while. And for each line that I take, I put it to istring. And what is istring doing? It's the following. Sometimes, let's say you want to give them multiple inputs as word. Okay? Like you want to give homes, had, been, seated, and so on. But homes is one input, if you read it with seeing. Had is one input, been is one input, and so on. And it's kind of boring. But if you put it in istringstream, what you can do is the following. You have one line. Let's say this is istringstream. Let's say string my istringstream. This is a variable of class istringstream. My istringstream. And I have here hello, hi, bye, hey, and this is finished. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 input data. But I can put it in one, and I can use a while loop, so I can read one by one. So I can read something like this. My istring stream, str, and I'm reading it and I'm putting it to a word. Okay? So basically I'm taking a line, putting the line in istringstream, and I'm taking the words one by one. And let's say I'm counting here, count plus plus. Okay, I'm counting the words. I take one, the count is incremented. I take hi, I take bye, this is incremented. I take hey, this is incremented. I cannot take any more, so count is going to be 4. Okay, this is why we use istringstream. Now, let me tell you. I'm going to play, by the way, the role of the compiler, because it's very important to understand this example. Your 6th homework will be about input-output files, and you're going to read not one, maybe 5, 6 input files. Maybe you should write 2 output files. It's going to be kind of complicated. That's why I think we should devote some time to this particular example. So, this is our input. What I'm doing is the following. I'm going to go through the code and write on board. I'm defining an ifstream file which is called input. So this is ifstream. I have a string called, I'm going to write it here. I hope it will be sufficient. I have a string which is called ifname. Basically, I'm going to give here the input file, so it will be input.txt. I'm calling the function prompt string. So I'm printing, please enter the file name. Okay. And it's written. Maybe I should do it also. So this is my output. It will be a kind of mess, but this is my command prompt. My console, basically. So I'm printing here. Please enter the file name. Please enter the file name. And I'm giving the file name. And let's say I'm giving input.txt, because the file name is input.txt. I'm trying to open it. If it's a failure, then I'm going to print this string. And I'm not going to do anything else, because afterwards it's like system pause and return 0. But if I can open it, what I'm doing is the following. I have ofstream, which is called output. So I define another variable of ofstream class. It's called output. I immediately give the name of the output file. It's going to be output.txt. If it fails, if I not create it, I don't have memory, the hard disk is broken, whatever, then I say could not open the output file. Basically, it's better to say could not create the output file. But if it does not fail, and you see the output ofstream has the fail function here. Okay. However, if it does not fail, what I'm trying to do is the following, and this is the most important part of the code. I go to this else clause, and I have the line counter. Here I'm counting the lines. So I have an integer here. This is called line counter. Initially, the line counter is how much? It's 0. I have not started to count yet. I have a string called line. So this is line. This is string. Line. I take the line basically, all the line, I put it here. And I'm using the getLine function. So getLine, input line. GetLine, I forgot to tell you, it's not a member function. It's defined outside of the ifstream class. As an input, it takes one parameter from ifstream class and also takes the line. But this line is taken as a reference. And what this function is doing is the following. It takes one line from the input text and puts it to this string here, line. That's why we take it as a reference. So the changes will be viewed when the function finishes. So if we want to deal with the real stuff here, let me show this function here. So when I call getLine, I'm getting this line. Start from the beginning always. I'm taking this one. Holmes had been blah, blah, blah till the end. And I put it here. Holmes had till the end. What do we have? Over a. Okay? So this is what I did with the first getLine. GetLine returns true if I've taken a line, and it returns false if I've not taken a line. So I can write it returns 0 or 1. In our case, I've taken a line. I've put the content of the line in the string line, and I go inside. Since I've taken one line, I'm incrementing the counter. So line counter becomes from 0, now it's 1. Now I'm using istringstream called stringstream, strstream. And what is this doing is the following. String stream. You might think of it like this. This string line is inside the string stream. And I'm counting the word. I'm defining a new variable called word counter. It's 0 initially. So word counter. We are counting the lines, the words inside the line. Initially it's 0. This is a temporary word, like a buffer. So string word. This is word. And this is also another while. So we have a while inside a while. With this string stream, basically we take words one by one. This is why we use the string stream, okay? Because you don't want to give them as an input by a keyboard or whatever. You just take words one by one. So with this string stream, this returns true if we read the word. So we take the first word And the first word is which one? Holmes. We put Holmes here, but we don't care about the words, the Holmes. What we care is to find this counter. Word counter is incremented by 1. From 0, word counter becomes 1. Okay. This was true previously, that's why we go again. We take another word. What's the second word that we take? So we are finished with Holmes now. We start with head. Head is put here. And the counter is incremented by 1. So counter is 2. Again, we take all of the words up until we take a. Okay. Let's say that up until then the word count was 17. Let's assume it was 17. Now we try to take, so we don't have any word here anymore. We try to take another word from an empty string stream. We don't have anything to take. So this, since we cannot read words anymore, this will be false. So we go here, and we're trying to print this stuff here. So we have output, but what was output? Output was ofstream. Okay, output was this guy. And the file output, so it created a file called output.txt. This is the name of the file. So with this output file stream, we are writing this stuff. Number of words online. So number of words online. We write the punch, the sharp symbol. Line counter. What's the value of line counter here? It's 1. In line 1, we have equal. How many words do we have?